So going through this realm by realm, this is going through and looking at the tasks for each realm. I'm not going to go over Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 11, and 14 or tactics because, well, there has finally been a 6 mission for Final Fantasy 2 now. So I'll actually go over that one even though it's not on the slide. Final Fantasy 2, you have Art is your only AoE healer. You do not have any 5-star support, I believe. No, you have Gordon. Gordon is your 5-star support. And it's not Arc. Arc is Final Fantasy 3. Minwu is your healer for Final Fantasy 2. I get 2 and 3 confused, sorry. So Minwu is your healer. Gordon is your support. You've got, let's see. Oh my god. You've got, well, you have Guy at the point. Guy is actually a pretty decent character. He's got 4-star support. He can use swords. He has monk abilities. You have Joseph, who is terrible, but does pick up a good relic on the banner for that event. You have, oh my god, Final Fantasy 2 and Final Fantasy 3 are getting mixed up in my head. Layla, who is bad, that gets upgraded for the event, so she's actually decent, but still, like, the only reason to bring Layla is if you have a relic for her, probably, or if you have a really highly honed Thief's Revenge, because she will be able to hit 5 hits with it. Leon is good. I'm trying to think of the main cast. It's Leon, Guy, Ricard, who is terrible and doesn't get a new relic, so he remains terrible. I don't think Global has a relic for Ricard, and they won't get one with the event because there isn't one. Anyway, the Final Fantasy 2 team is pretty limited. You have to use Minwu, you have to use Gordon. Hope you have relics for one or the other of them or both. I believe it's pretty much a physical-only team. I don't think there's enough mages for Final Fantasy 2 to make even a magic-heavy team, let alone an only mage team. Do I think the next Tactics event will have SIDS missions? Yes, it will, because the second Tactics event in Japan had a SIDS mission. It just did not have a SIDS mission which required a full synergy team, and the one was available. You only had to have Ramza and Agrias, so it's actually like one of the easiest SIDS missions. Okay, so I'm not going to do a Final Fantasy 1, 3, 11, 14, or Tactics, because again, they didn't have a synergy-only requirement for their SIDS mission, so they're much, much easier to do. You can just pretty much jam the required characters and then your best other characters and smash the fight. So Final Fantasy 4. Final Fantasy 4 is a very, very, very magic-heavy realm. There are enough characters to make a pure physical team. You can do Dark Cecil, Light Cecil, Yang, Kain, Edward, Edge. Like you can find enough characters for it. But all of those characters except for Paladin Cecil are not great. On the other hand, your mages are, again, not great, but it's easier to work with not great mages and not great physical characters. You've got Golbez, Pella, Fusoya, Talon, Porom, Rosa, Rydia. Like, you can get a good mage team out of it. You can have Rydia using summons, you can have Talon using black magic, you can have Golbez using darkness spells. Like that's your three mages right there, or whoever it gets Soul Breaks for. It has 4 possible characters with 4-star white magic, and it has one of the realms with 2 AoE healers. You have both Rosa and Porom who have AoE heals. So that is actually a good thing to have. It's more like you'll have an AoE heal for Final Fantasy IV than a lot of other realms. It has a lot of black mages, like I think there's more black mages on Final Fantasy IV than any other realm. So when you're thinking about the Final Fantasy IV event, you're most likely going to want to think about how to put together a mage team. There is only one character with any real amount of support, and that's Edward. He's not generally considered the best support, but keep in mind, well, he does have 5-star support, and he also has Bard 5, which lets him bring Shelda or Protecta, which can be worthwhile. That can be a very, very nice thing to have. Unfortunately, I think the Final Fantasy IV events require you to do some hopeful breaks. So if you want to master the team, you don't have to master in order to win the 5th mission. You only have to clear the fight in order to win the 5th mission. So, but if you want to master, you're not going to be able to bring a Shelda Protecta on Edward. Final Fantasy V. Final Fantasy V is one of the lowest character count realms among the main non-MMO, the main series non-MMO games. However, it has probably the best, like, if you leave out Galuf, every single one of the Final Fantasy V characters is in the running for best character in their class. You're going to have a forced hybrid team unless you run Galuf, but it's going to be a fucking great team. You do have 2 possible healers, both Exdeath and Lena. Lena's your only AoE healer. You do have 2 black mages with Exdeath and Kryl. You only have 1 support with Ferris, but again, she's amazing. Kryl is very good. She's not amazing, but she's very good. Lena's very good. Arx is amazing. Gilgamesh is amazing. Galuf kind of sucks, but well, whatever. Just with Final Fantasy V realm, you're mostly going to be running a hybrid team. Again, unless you run Galuf, does she have a relic for him? In which case you can bring, you can focus entirely on physical. I'm trying to remember there's actually been a few missions for Final Fantasy V. Just for the most part, like, Final Fantasy V is one of the easier realms just because the team itself is very, very good. Like, you're not going to be stretching with bad characters in 5. For Final Fantasy VI, it has one of the largest casts among any realm. However, the character quality in 6 is pretty bad, honestly. Like, there's only a couple, like, characters you'd be really happy to have in an A team in Final Fantasy VI. You've got Terra. You maybe have Edgar, if you have relics for him. You have Kefka if you have his haste relic, you'd be happy to run him in a normal team. You have Celeste if you have a relic for her, and outside of them, generally speaking, people don't run many Final Fantasy VI characters. That's for good reason, because most of them are pretty bad, or at least they don't stand out in any way. So really, regardless of whether you go pure physical, pure magical, or a mix, realm 2. Regardless of how you go with the team, you're probably going to be using someone you're not entirely happy with. Again, unless you just have great relics for it. But it's just, I won't mention that from now on. Just keep that in mind. Like if you have just a ton of good relics for a realm, you can almost write it off because you're going to have a much easier time than other people will. You don't need to be concerned about that realm. There are 2 possible healers, both Mog and Relm can heal. Relm is known as an AoE heal. She only has her 1 AoE heal. So Final Fantasy VI is going to be one of those realms where it's hard to get AoE heals for. If you don't have Portrait of Lakshmi, you don't have an AoE heal for 6. There's 1 5-star support, which is Setzer, and you have 1 4-star support, which is Terra. Generally, you don't want Terra running a support ability, but if you have to, you have to. That's one of those things you just have to keep in mind when you're running Sid missions, that sometimes you have to do things a little suboptimally because that's your only choice. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things with Sid's missions is um, if you have good skills or if you have good relics for particular characters, they're usable. Like if you have flashing blade honed up, and you have a synergy katana, then Cyan is fine. Like he's not great, but you've got something you can use with him, and he'll do good damage for you. It's just that if you were doing any other realm, like if you weren't doing a Sid's mission, you probably wouldn't be bringing Cyan, because generally speaking, he's bad. It's not that he's like there are no characters, like even Gao. Talking about Final Fantasy 6, you've got Gao in the realm. Gao is a pretty bad character, but if you've got relics for him, like he can still pull off Chain Starter plus full charge. He's one of the 4 characters that can do it baseline. So I mean, even then, like if you've got something that he can hit something with, if you've got a synergy weapon for him, he can still do a ton of damage for you. That's the kind of thing you have to think of with Sid's missions is how do I make best use of my limited assets? All right, moving on to Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is almost entirely a physical realm. You do have mages, but they tend to be pretty bad, or very like you have to have specific gear for them to be worthwhile. The physical team, like you're not going to have 4 great physical attackers probably, but you're going to have 4 physical attackers you're not entirely dissatisfied with. You've got Sephiroth, you've got Cloud, you've got Zack, you've got Tifa, you have Cid, and so there's good options, but none of those are top of their class at all, but they're all perfectly reasonable characters. There are only a couple mages. You have Red 13 if you have a hairpin or dagger for him. You have Aerith can nuke one of the white mages as well, so you probably won't have her using summon. There's Ketchi, who again can summon, but he's also an AoE healer, so you're probably not going to have him summoning. There's Vincent, who is one of the best mages in the game. And then there's Reno, who is not one of the best mages in the game, but, maybe you'll use him anyway because you have a relic for him. The problem with Reno is his magic is very low compared to other mages. There are 3 5-star supports in Final Fantasy VII. That's the most 5-star supports of any realm by 2. It's the only realm with more than 1 5-star support. Counting Ketchi, who has 5-star Dancer, so we can use Dance Breakdown. Yuffie, that's right. Yuffie is actually an exceptional character. So 5-star supports, you've got Barret, you've got Red 13, and you have Ketchi. Don't forget Ketchi has Dance 5. That can come in extremely handy. And you also have 2 4-star supports in Vincent and Yuffie, who again has Dance 4. Very, very, very handy. Don't forget Dance exists for Sid's missions. There's only a few realms where it matters, but on those realms, it can be it's an absolutely huge thing. So you actually have a pretty good variety of in your setup for Final Fantasy VII because you have 2 different AoE healers and you have 5 different support options, really. So there's actually quite a bit of flexibility in 7, as to be expected from the realm with the most events. Moving on to Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII has pretty, it's you can go either way with physical or magical in 8, but with the exception of Rinoa and possibly Cypher, none of the characters are great. They're all, I guess Adia is okay too, but really none of the characters really stand out except probably Rinoa. The pure physical team is not great because you have to use Squall, you have to use Cypher, which is not bad. Cypher's actually pretty good. Matter of fact, the Final Fantasy VIII Sid's mission is what actually made me move Cypher up some ranks in my my commando ranking for the characters, because I realized hey, Cypher's actually pretty good. But after those 2, you've got Laguna, Good is okay. Irving is god awful. He's your only 5-star support, and he is awful. He is the worst support in the game statistically. And you've got Bell, who's a monk, like, you know. For casters, you've got Renoa, who's great. You've got Padilla, who can get the job done and has a haste stuff, which is important. And then you have, who am I missing? I should really just get the list of characters up over here. One moment. Loading. Renoa. Oh, right, Quistis. Of course. How could I forget Quistis? So yeah, then you have Quistis. You can't even cast 5-star black magic unless you record that. So yeah, like your 3 offensive casters are 1 great caster, 1 caster to get the job done, and then Quistis, who is also one of your supports. She's your 4-star support as well. You only have 1 healer, which is Selfie, who has, there's 2 AoE heals or 3 AoE heals for her at this point. At the point when you're going to be doing Unless He Hates His mission. She's okay, but she doesn't have a lot of options, so she's really kind of limited, and there's no one else. Quistis, I think, can record dive for 4-star white magic if you're totally desperate, but I don't recommend it. So, honestly, Final Fantasy VIII is one of the worst mission realms, just because you're using mediocre characters whichever way you run. And again, I mean, like, if you have Quistis's Mighty Guard 8, that goes a long way towards making your team really good. But that's the same with any realm. Like, you learn to love haste relics versus missions. Final Fantasy IX is actually a pretty good realm for both physical and magic, but in my opinion, the magic team is a little bit better. Physical team, you've got Dane, Beatrix, Steiner, who are all good. You've got Freya, who is surprisingly good. I actually really like Freya, but she is kind of fragile. And then you've got Amaranth, who is a monk. Yeah, there's not much else you can say about Amaranth. But for your magic team, you've got Kuja, who is great. You've got Aiko, who is great. You've got Garnet, who is great. And you've got Vivi, who is pretty good, even though he can only cast black magic. Yeah, Sophie's third is the BSB. Like, you can do either a full physical or a full magical team in Final Fantasy IX, because one of the realms where you can like do that without feeling bad about it. You do only have 1 AoE healer, with Aiko, who has 2 or 3 heals, depending on which event we're talking about. Garnet does have a heal on her burst, but it's not an AoE heal, I don't believe. I believe it's single target only. And there's only 1 5-star support, who is Tina, who is not a very good 5-star support, unfortunately. She's pretty fragile, and she has no useful skills aside from support. So, yeah. That's the weakness of Final Fantasy IX, is your support sucks. Same as Final Fantasy VIII. Your support sucks. And you do have Freya. Don't forget, Freya has 4-star support. It's one of the reasons she's actually one of the better Dragoons. So don't forget, you can read a breakdown on Freya if you need to. Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X is, despite how much I love the actual game, not one of the best realms. It is biased towards magic. The physical team is fairly poor. Tidus is not great unless you have his BSB, which makes him great. Waka is the second worst support. Kamari is bad. Oron is pretty limited. Honestly, I would call him pretty bad, honestly, if you don't have any relics for him. Riku is good. Jex is good, despite being a monk. Jex is actually really good. He's one of the best monks. And when we get her, Pain is extremely good. But that leaves you with Riku, Jex, Pain for actually good characters in physical side of the row. However, for the mages, you actually do have a pretty decent set. You've got Yuna, who is great. You've got Lulu, who is BV, except more durable. And then you have Braska, who is actually really, really good. Tidus does have the same starter combo, yes. So you only have the 3 mages, but they're all pretty good. So and keep in mind, for Final Fantasy X, for the Braska event, you have to bring Yuna, Tidus, Auron for the Braska Final Aeons intermission. So most intermissions aren't that restrictive. Usually, most intermissions are only bring a synergy team. You don't have to require characters, but the early ones do require you to bring certain characters. So keep in mind for the first Final Fantasy X intermission that you do have to bring Auron, you have to bring Tidus, you have to bring Yuna. The only one you're probably going to be happy about there is Yuna, unless you have a good relic for one of the other 2. You do have 2 possible healers. You have Yuna and Braska. They both have White Magic 4+. Yuna's the only one with an AoE heal, and she really only has Hymn of the Faith. Her first can AoE heal, but it's terrible at it, so don't rely on it, probably. And you only have 1 support, who is Wakka, who is terrible. That's one of the reasons why the Braska Cid's mission is so hard, is because you have to bring Tidus, Wakka, Yuna, Auron, X. Like, out of the rest, who do you bring? Probably Braska, because you're probably going to want a second healer. That's how I ended up doing it. Yes, Lulu does have focus. If you are one of the lucky few who has focus, it will help a lot. Although Braska's Final Ace doesn't do a lot of magic damage. He's almost pure physical. He does have some Jex Beam, I think, is magical, but for the most part, I think it's physical attack where it's done. However, for the second Final Fantasy X mission, it's wide open. You can use whatever you want. Anyway, so Final Fantasy X is one of those realms where you're probably not going to be completely happy with your team, because you have to bring subpar characters unless you just have, relics for all 3 mages and so on. Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII honestly probably has the second best 5-person party outside of Final Fantasy V. Final Fantasy V has the best, bar none. Final Fantasy XII is really, really good, though. Final Fantasy XII's physical characters are great. We have Fran, who is actually pretty durable for a support. We've got Balthier, who's one of the best characters in the game. We have Vaughn, who's one of the best characters in the game. We have Bosch, who is really, really good. And we have Gabranx, who is not bad. He's not Smite 5, I believe, so he's not Smite stellar, but, you can use him. For mages, you only have Ashe, so you're not doing a mage team with Final Fantasy 12, but here's not possible. But Ashe is really good. She's basically Arizola's sister. Keep in mind, while there is only 1 healer, Penelo is the only character who has White 4+. Actually, that's not true. Gabranx, I think, actually is a paladin as well. I forgot about him. But you're probably going to have Gabranx healing because he can't use staves. So Penelo is your only real healer. Keep in mind, 2 of Ashe's relics, her first relic and her Super Soul Break, both have AoE heal components. That is really, really, really handy to have. Like, if you have either her first sword or her Super Soul Break, bring Ashe, because having an extra AoE heal is a godsend for Cid's missions. For support, you have Fran, who's pretty good, and you have Vaughn as well. Vaughn has 4-star support. It's one of the reasons he's so good. Final Fantasy 13. There are no bad characters in Final Fantasy 13. I think it's the only realm you can say that in. You have Snow, who is probably the best monk because he has rank 5 as well. You have Vanille, who's a perfectly usable Sage and AoE healer. You have Lightning, who is one of the better spellplays. She's the best Cloud clone, in my opinion. You have Saz, who is kind of outdated at this point because there's better options to boom, but he's still one of the better supports, honestly. You have Hope, who is again a Sage. He can heal, he can nuke. He's one of the better mages. You have Fang, who's one of the best Dragoons just for raw strength. You have Sarah, who's a okay mage. She's the weak link, honestly. And then you have Sid Raines, eventually. I don't think he's for the first 13th mission. Maybe he is. No, he's for the second one. But he is not a great character, but he's not bad either. Yeah, Saz used to be great, but since the advent of better supports, he's just okay. But again, I'm saying there's no bad characters in 13. So both you have both the capability to put out a physical team or a magical team. The magical team is honestly, I don't know which team is better. You're probably best off just using a hybrid team for 13, honestly, because like you're probably not going to be happy with your last character on either the physical or the magical side. You do have two healers. Only Vanille has AoE heals, though. And you do have both Saz and is it Raines, I think, that has 4-star support for a 4-star support character. Yeah, Sid is basically Vincent 2.0, but not as strong, in my opinion. I think Vincent is a much better character than Sid Raines is, but he's not terrible. All right, so that's the cast of Sid's missions. Next up, we've got relic availability or buff availability.